Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria was established in 1927. It's 93 years old this year, and we are a professional society set up to help self-regulate the practice of pharmacy, to help improve standard of practice among pharmacists, to help all pharmacists adopt a common code of practice as men of honor, which is our motto. As men of honor, we join hands. It is set up to also canvass for appropriate opportunities for elevating the level of education and the level of practice, and also the level of regulation. It's essentially determined to work with government to improve pharmaceutical care to the people of the country and all those who use healthcare services. The PSN, of course, as a professional pharmacist who are trained in the art of making medicines, starting from research and development through production or manufacturing to distribution, to retailing, to counseling, and to now clinical pharmacy. It's all whole range of ensuring that there's a wholesome supply of medicines from the point of manufacture to the consumer or to the patient in a manner that will lead to desired outcomes. You may know that pharmaceutical products or drugs are potential poisons, and if they are not properly administered or ingested, they may cause you harm. So it is the business of the pharmacist to stand as the buffer between the doctor and the patient, between the medicine and the consumer, to make sure that if there's a prescription error, the pharmacist points it out. If there are what we call contraindications, the pharmacist points them out. And very often doctors in clinical setting rely on pharmacists to let them know what is the current state of medicines for the diseases they want to treat. To look at what we call pharmacodynamics. You know, in medicine, it's not just taking it. There are other considerations. What is the state of the mucosa, the route through which the administration of the drug will be taken? So, and what timing, what state, what is the acidity or the alkalinity of the medium? This is the pharmacist that knows. What is the suboptimal dose, what is the optimal dose, and what is the maximum dose before we go into adverse reactions or poisonous reactions. The pharmacist knows. And because pharmacy is an exact profession, you do not approximate in pharmacy. It is 1.001 or 1.252 mg. It's exact, because additional 0.001 mg can change it from a beneficial product to a deleterious product. So that is what the work we do. We also, as a society, interact with government and its agencies, from the Ministry of Health to regulatory agencies like the NAFDAC, National Agency for Food and Drugs Control and Administration, to the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria. We collaborate and work with these agencies to ensure that pharmacy is practiced in the way it is supposed to be practiced, and that the drugs that we deliver to consumers or we dispense to consumers are not only safe and not only efficacious, but also that they are given in the right, delivered to the right channels. Because drugs, as I said earlier on, are chemicals. Most of them are. Some are synthetic chemicals, some are organic chemicals, some are natural chemicals, some are phytochemicals. But they are chemicals all the same. And so they respond to weather conditions. They respond to temperature, pressure, humidity. And that's why when people who do not understand pretend that they are selling medicines and expose medicines to the weather, in the sun, inside the bus, in baskets, on the streets, I weep. Because before you know, you're either taking something that will not work, or you're taking something that has denatured and has become poisonous, because chemicals go through reaction. We know it. Everybody who has done chemistry in secondary school, even in the junior secondary school, will know that in chemical reactions, you start with something, you end with another thing. So even medicines, they are held together in the formulation as designed by the pharmaceutical scientists. And so there is a delivery system, there is a temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure, you must keep these medicines. If you change those pressures or the humidity without outside what is intended, what you end up is either a drug that will no longer work or a new drug that actually shouldn't be consumed. And that's why we are crying our heads off. Go and obtain your medicines only through legal registered pharmaceutical premises. Not all shops are pharmacies. Not all places that sell medicines are pharmacies. Pharmacies carry label, and when you go there, don't even buy anything and you ask for the pharmacist. Who is the pharmacist here? If there's no pharmacist in a pharmacy, it is not a pharmacy. A pharmacy is not because there's a building. A pharmacy is because there's a pharmacist resident and operating in that environment. So we support legislation. We work with government to produce drugs to meet the needs of our people. We have been pushing on a number of fronts. One major front is to increase the level of domestic drug production. As you well know, way back, government in the late 90s, early 2000s has set a policy they call National Health Policy or National Drug Policy, saying that by the year 2005, this country should be able to produce 70% of its essential drugs locally, from local production. But this has not happened. And so, since we came to office, which also coincides with since the president has been in power or even before, we have determined that we need to increase this so that we can achieve that objective of government, because it's dangerous for any country to depend on third parties or external foreign countries to supply its basic drug needs. Because after food, the next thing is medicines, and people can kill a nation by denying them medicines. Of course, as if we were looking for support for this position, COVID-19 came. And when COVID-19 came, China blocked its road. China blocked India. India said they will not even export anything. Whatever they have is left for local consumption. China shut down. So many countries, including Nigeria, faced problem of crisis, both in raw material supply and finished goods. So that supported our proposition and our push that the pharmaceutical sector is a critical sector whose products represent issues of national security. And today we have seen a very positive response from government working through CBN. CBN, for example, has opened a product line called the Pharmaceutical Healthcare Support Sector Fund, through which about 100 billion has been put in play for pharmaceutical companies to assess at single digit and long tenure to be able to expand their capacity and their capabilities to produce products locally. CBN has gone further to even provide some support for research and development, so that Nigerian researchers, pharmacists, pharmaceutical scientists, medical scientists, laboratory scientists, and all those who are in the field can do research and obtain funding to help them produce products locally. That's a major achievement I think we have accomplished. Of course, there are other areas where there are accomplishments. The Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, as a growing profession, we like every other profession, we have been trying to get better and improve on our general knowledge and then specialization. Today we have the PHARM program, which have been approved by NUC. The PHARM program is a 6-year program that allows pharmacists to train beyond the level they were training when they had BPharm. Now to include clinical pharmacy, the clinical aspect of pharmacy, the bedside aspect of pharmacy, to provide greater support to clinicians so that the patient can get best outcome from his medication. That program has been approved during this period. Secondly, there's a status in the profession called the consultancy status. The consultancy status is for experts within the profession. This has also been in the lining, but during this tenure, we have gotten an approval for that consultancy status. This is just few of the things that we have seen. Of course, there are a couple of other things we are still looking for. There's a new pharmacy law which yet is to be approved. Unfortunately, it was approved by the 8th Assembly and brought to Mr. President. Somehow it wasn't signed. So it elapsed, and then it's gone back to the National Assembly. We know that Mr. President will sign it because it is a policy that will help to protect the pharmaceutical environment. You are aware, ladies and gentlemen, there's a high level of what we call substandard and falsified medicines in the country. There is not adequate regulation. When you go around, you see drugs being sold anywhere in the marketplace, on the streets. People have no idea, who do not know the difference between paracetamol and aspirin, except that each can help you deal with your headache. They are the ones selling drugs and mixing things for people. And when you try to regulate them with existing law, they say they are not pharmacies, that the law we have is pharmacist law. So there's a new pharmacy law that expands the scope of regulation by the Pharmacist Council and also supports them by higher acquisition and provision of resources so that regulation can get better. The safety of Nigerian healthcare consumers can be better preserved. This is part of the things that we're still expecting Mr. President to sign so that his desires for a safe healthcare sector can be accomplished. Challenges, there are quite a number of them. One I've just made a reference to. There are too many mechanics or too many madmen and too many mechanics. So we are now having difficulty knowing who actually is the madman. So we want the madmen separated from the mechanics. There are too many intruders. The pharmaceutical space is completely confused in some respect. Pharmacies are supposed to be open 24 hours. During this COVID period, some people have been killed, and gone and murdered in their shops by hoodlums and armed robbers and all kinds of criminals. So I think government should realize that pharmacies in our communities represent important security points. They represent important national heritage. Just as government would defend its important institutions, so should it support pharmacies that are operating so that there is safety. Thirdly, is that some of our academic pharmacies are not being treated well. There are other people, like you have medical doctors who are academics, veterinary doctors who are academics. They are being paid certain allowances. They are being paid certain teaching allowances and some professional allowances. But pharmacists are not being paid. And they are in the same business of teaching and supporting educational development of the young pharmacists. They feel maligned. They feel discriminated against. We think that is something that government should help us to do, to make sure that what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Finally, intra-professional harmony. There is so much division in the health team, and I'm preaching and begging that this should stop. The health team should see itself as a body, and the body has many parts, and each part plays important role. No part can do without the other part. If the leg is aching, the head feels ache. If the hand is aching, the stomach feels pain. So let the health team work together. And I want to thank God that we are making some efforts. PSN and MA has established some good relationship. We're doing well with nurses, our traditional lives in lab scientists, physiotherapists. We are bringing it all together. Each person has his own work to do. Let us have mutual respect for each other and ensure that each person keeps on his own space. As my daughter-in-law will say, everybody maintain his own lane. If we maintain our own lane, everybody maintains his lane, but there's a point of cooperation. At that point, we cooperate. These are some of the challenges and some of the things we think government can help sort out. It is in the hand of the Minister of Health to help foster this inter-professional relationship. We are involved in a lot of projects. Given my background, having been chairman of the Economic Summit Group and the Nigerian Employers Consultation, NECA, and so forth and so on, I have brought some of the ideas I got from those institutions, Manufacturing Associations of Nigeria, and all that, to bear on Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. So we're doing quite a lot of projects. Some of these projects are first aimed at improving awareness in the society, ensuring that the society, Nigerians understand what is the thing that leads to drug misuse, what is the thing that leads to drug abuse, and what is it that is proper rightful drug use. We have been doing some campaigns against drug abuse, especially narcotics, where young people are getting damaged, and sometimes not too young people too are getting damaged. All of us heard about the codeine palaver and so forth. So PSN is in the forefront, working with our subsidiary and sister organizations, the Academy of Pharmacy, the Association of Community Pharmacies, Hospital Pharmacies. We're working together to bring to the consciousness of Nigerians the need to protect ourselves and protect our children from drug abuse and drug misuse. Beyond all that campaign against drug abuse, drug misuse, we are also involved in supporting government. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we made donations of products, hand sanitizers, personal protective equipment, face masks, and all